Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Max. So let's talk. So this morning, if you look at the title is a person, and a lot of you may not know this person because this is someone from my life. In our life journey, we're going to come across a lot of different people. Some who are going to be a blessing, some going to be a lesson. And this person in particular is someone who in my life was a lesson and a blessing all in one. And I'll explain why. Floyd Nathaniel Cowan was a United States veteran. He fought in the war. And my introduction to Mr. Floyd Nathaniel Cowan was at my grandmother's house, him being drunk, so drunk that he fell down the stairs at my grandmother's house. And this was an every week thing. This happened every single week. Every time he got paid, especially on the first of the month, he would be at my grandmother's house drinking because my grandmother ran what's called a bootlegger house, which is where you sell liquor out of your house by the shots or by the pint or whatever to people in the neighborhood. And so there would always be these characters at my grandmother's house all the time. So it was never dull. Plus, my aunts did hair. And so you would have the crowd over there to drink. You would have the crowd over there to get their hair done. So my grandma's house was always full and there was always something going on. And Mr. Floyd was one of those people that just hung around to get their drinks and stuff like that. And after they finish drinking or run out of money, they stagger to wherever they're going to stagger to lay down and sleep it off and then get up and do it again the next day. That was his cycle. And, Mr. Floyd wasn't a big man. He wasn't a man of great stature. He wasn't a skilled man in fighting or whatever. And so a lot of times whenever he get really drunk, you had some opportunists who would wait for him to get real drunk like that so they could rob him for his money. And this is something that also happened almost every month on payday. And so, my mom would always be over there. My dad would be over in that area. And they knew Mr. Floyd. They got to know him. And, seeing his situation, they decided for whatever their reasons were. Now, mind you, I was a child. I was about 5 or 6 years old whenever all of this took place. So I can't tell you what my parents' reasoning was for doing some of the things they did. All I can tell you is that they did it. And so what they did was they decided to take Mr. Floyd in to our home, give him a place to stay, give him some guidance and somebody to help him out, watch over him because they got tired of seeing him getting beaten. Eventually, somebody was gonna mess around and beat him to death out there. And he was not a young dude. He was in his probably about his 50s or 60s. He was my dad age or probably older than my dad. And at that time, my dad was in his 50s. So Mr. Floyd was an older dude. And we decided to take him in. Well, my parents decided to take him in and help him out. And I guess that's something that Mr. Floyd, he agreed to because he came to live with us. And every first of the month, whenever he got his disability check, my dad would take him, get him all the stuff that he wants and needs, and he come back to the house and he'll be content. Whenever he started to get low, my dad would take him back and he'll get all the stuff that he needed, get all his little wine, get all his little products that he need and snacks and stuff like that. And, he was cool. And I'll say this, like I said, I was probably I had to be younger than 5 because I hadn't started school yet. So I was about 4, 3 or 4. And this is how far back I remember because I remember these events with Mr. Floyd vividly. And I was 4 years old. I had to be because I hadn't started school yet. And I spent every day with Mr. Floyd. Mr. Floyd, my neighbor had my neighbor up the street from us had owned a little store, a little corner store, and every single day, me and Mr. Floyd would walk to the store, and we would get a quarter worth of fireballs, which at the time the atomic fireballs was 5 cents a piece, so you get five for a quarter. He would get him a Snickers candy bar, which I never understood because he didn't have any teeth. He couldn't chew up the peanuts. And he would get both of us a can of Coca-Cola. And that was our little outing for the day, every single day, consistently. There was no days that we didn't go do this unless it was raining or snowing, some type of inclement weather that would stop us from going. That was our routine every single day. And, a lot of times they would make it out to seem like Mr. Floyd was watching me, but really I was companionship for this old veteran, man. And one thing about Mr. Floyd, this is one of the funniest things that I will never forget. It'll always be etched in my mind. He had this saying, and if you asked him who he was, he would say Floyd Nathaniel, United States vet, fuck you up. That was his motto. No matter what. If anybody wanted to know who he was, that was his introduction to you. Floyd Nathaniel, United States vet, fuck you up. so I just found that as endearing, man. It wasn't threatening at all. It was just a cute thing from a little old dude. He put you in the mind of Cotton Hill. If you watch King of the Hill, Hank Hill's dad, Cotton, that's who Mr. Floyd reminds you of. He was a black Cotton Hill, basically. And he would tell me stories of things that he did in his life when he got drunk. When he started drinking and get deep into his drink, he would start to talk to me and release some things that's been bothering him about his life, maybe some regrets, maybe some accomplishments. One awesome accomplishment that he shared with me that I didn't understand the significance of until I was older was the fact that he was a pitcher in the Negro Leagues baseball. He was really big on baseball. Um, and people will tell you stories and try to sensationalize stuff, over exaggerate things. And so, I thought maybe Mr. Floyd was putting a little bit of sauce on the story. I ain't even gonna lie. I thought that even as a little kid. And he proved me wrong one day. He let me know that he really was a Negro League pitcher because we have a neighbor, and this neighbor has a son, and his son was just, let's just say he liked to get into stuff. He was kind of like Dennis the Menace without the good nature. He was a bad natured Dennis the Menace. And so, he did something to Mr. Floyd, and Mr. Floyd said, "It's okay, we cool, we cool." And he went to shake his hand, and he grabbed him to pull him over to him. I think Mr. Floyd was about to slap him or something. And so he took off running. And Mr. Floyd picked up one of his dress shoes off the floor, and he threw that dress shoe with such precision, and it hit that boy right in the back of the head and knocked him down right at the door. This is coming from a 50, 60 something year old man. And at that point, I realized that Mr. Floyd was not lying about being a pitcher in the Negro Leagues. And man, that was definitely something that it was something that opened my eyes. It was something that opened my eyes, man, and it definitely gave me a different perspective and a different view on him. And I was like, wow. Then I started to ask him, Mr. Floyd, what else did you do in your life? What other accomplishments did you have? And he went on to explain to me how he was a veteran from the Vietnam War. And I was a young child, so he didn't really give me any gory details or anything like that, but he did let me know the pride that he had in this country. And so as I sit back and I watch this country that we live in and how it's going and where we're headed, I wonder how Mr. Floyd would feel right now. I wonder how Mr. Floyd would feel about not only this nation, but the military that he was so proud to serve. I wonder how he would feel about that. I wonder what he would say about that today. There's a lot of times where I think back on Mr. Floyd and just little gems that he dropped into my life, man. Just the the times that we sat around and mind you again, he's a 60 something year old man. I'm a 4, maybe 5 year old child, but we was best friends. I was his companion. I kept him company and he was my mentor. He was my guardian. He was grandpa. He was uncle. Whatever he needed to be in that moment for me, that's what Mr. Floyd was. And wasn't nothing weird. And I know where people mind goes. No, no, man. It was just a beautiful relationship. That was a positive male role model in my life, even though he was a wino. He had his vice. This was still a great man who accomplished some great things. And after he got back here from the Vietnam War, they did what they always do, treat us like dogs. And that brother ended up losing everything and ended up out on the streets drinking. But you know what? God saw something. He said, I'm not going to allow this to happen to this servant of mine who has done so many things in his life to help others, who has been there for others. And so he placed it upon my parents' heart to take this man in so that the last days of his life, the last few years of his life was spent in peace, out in the country, in nature, not being beat up anymore by people who robbing him for his money on the first of the month. And he went out like a true hero should. He went out like a Negro League pitcher should. He went out like a United States vet should. And that's something that I always be proud of my parents for doing. That's something that they instilled in me. So when I see people out here, I have no problem reaching out, helping somebody. And it's strictly from the pureness of my heart because I saw those examples coming up. I saw a real live example of what it looks like to have compassion and love for a person without looking for anything in return. And that's why I am the way I am. And that's why people can't really understand that about me. What do I get out of it? I get the satisfaction of knowing that I was able to bring some type of light to somebody's life, even if just for a second. That's what it's all about, man. And so this is a tribute to Mr. Floyd. Mr. Floyd, I often think about you in my life. You're one of the main reasons why I decided to join the military because I always wanted to be able to copy your motto. My name is Kunta Mackin, United States vet. Fuck you up. This is your boy D Mac. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.